Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on who is watching this program from whichever part of the world and at whatever the time of the day or the evening or night it could be in that part of the world from where the person is watching the program. And I would like to introduce myself. I am Chaudhry Quaseed, and I'm an organizational and development and performance management consultant for several companies in parallel, and I also consider myself to be a coach for life, business, and career. I think it's only fair that I introduce myself a little bit, and I need to say in that case that I have about 26 years of work experience with mostly large local corporates and also with some multinationals and international joint venture companies. The departments or the areas in which my experience lies is mostly in human resource development and management, organizational development, organizational performance management, and organizational behavior. I have also led the entire business divisions and sales teams, customer service, and communications of some organizations as well. And out of these 26 years, I'm very happy to say that 17 of those years, by God's grace, has been spent in the capacity of division head. Therefore, I've held positions such as director, executive director, and various CXO roles. And I try and bring all of my diverse experiences together when I'm doing these discussions and when I'm sharing my thoughts and opinions. I enjoy sharing thoughts, experiences, and opinions on various subjects. And also, I try to engage the audience, whoever is watching, into having a debate, not just with me in the comment section, but also among themselves. I don't necessarily expect everyone to agree with me or to applaud what I'm saying, and it is okay for people to disagree. And the main objective of this endeavor is to get people to think about the subject that I'm talking about and to have people talk about it among themselves as well. So the topic that I would like to talk to you about, so I would like to welcome everyone to today's Quaseed Solo Talk, as I name these episodes, on debunking the fallacy that the percentage of Hindu population fell from 30 to 8% in Bangladesh, and most so in recent times. I would like to mention that the program, this episode which we are recording now, will be not only posted in my page and on YouTube as well in my channel, but also in the page of QR Code, which is another platform that has been created jointly by myself and a friend of mine called Rana Islam, where we share all these contents as well. So before delving into the discussion of any subject, it is always necessary to talk a little bit about why we are discussing about that subject. And the main reason that we feel that it is important to have this discussion is because in recent times, it has become quite a popular misinformation going around, especially in Indian television channels, that the Hindu population in Bangladesh has reduced from 30% to 8%. And the way that it is stated and the way that it is put forward, it gives the wrong impression that this has happened in the last few months only. It gives a very wrong impression that perhaps 22% of our population actually drained out of our country over the last few months, which is definitely not the case. We do not really know why this misinformation campaign is going on against Bangladesh. There could very much be a lot of political motives behind it. But whatever the reason may be, I think I must salute a few Indian channels and a few Indian video bloggers, who are trying to combat this outrageous plethora of misinformation that is happening and this propaganda warfare, the propaganda attack that's going on upon Bangladesh. And I really thank them for it. And at the same time, I would also like to come and join that effort in trying to dispel the rumors and debunk the fallacies. And that is the reason why I'm recording this episode in English, as I do some of my episodes, because I intend the international audiences and my friends and viewers in India to watch it and to understand. And I don't want the content of the video to be accessible or targeted only towards the audiences of Bangladesh or to Bengali people living in other parts of the world or to the Bengali population in India, concentrated mostly in West Bengal. Because I intend the content of this discussion to be much more international and globalized and accessible to people who do not understand Bangla. That is the reason why I'm actually recording this particular episode entirely in English, and that is something that I do with quite a few of my episodes. So the way in order to debunk this fallacy is to actually provide some facts and figures, and I have gathered some facts and figures which I am going to present before you. And at the same time, I will also not just give you the facts and figures, but I will also try and give you some background information and try and explain to you the context. And also, I would like to explain and analyze the reasons why the numbers have changed. And interestingly, in certain ways, the percentages have dropped, but the actual number has actually increased. So I will be talking about all of these. I will be interpreting the numbers for everyone to understand. So let's begin with the year 1940. In 1940, the total population of what was then East Bengal was 3.1 crore. And out of that 3.1 crore, 28% of the population was Hindu, and that comes to approximately 87 lakh. By 1950, interestingly, which actually means that the 1947 partition comes in between that decade, in 1950, the population of what was then East Pakistan was 4.1 crore. That means the population actually increased in this region from 3.1 crore to 4.1 crore. And the percentage of the Hindu population at that time was 22%. Now, 22% of 4.1 crore is actually higher than 28% of 3.1 crore. And the total number of people who are following the Hindu religion in this part of the world was 92 lakh or 9.2 million. Now, the interesting thing to note over here is that the reason why in these 10 years the population suddenly jumped up by a crore is because we had almost a crore of people coming in from different parts of India who were followers of the Muslim religion, the Islam religion, into what was then East Pakistan, what is now Bangladesh. So that actually added an immediate increase in the number of Muslims and therefore bumped the number up. And that's what made the percentage a little bit awry. But the interesting thing is that the number of people who were followers of the Hindu religion who migrated out of what had just become East Pakistan into India was not that much actually. And that is the reason why the people who were left behind, the resident population, they, through natural reproduction and procreation, actually what happened is the number increased from 87 to 92 lakh. Perhaps there is a dispute, but the total number of people who actually left from this part of the world was, not more than about 1 million or around 10 lakh. So perhaps the number dropped from 87 to 77, and then again, through general and the population increase that happens, it came back up to about 92 lakh through, as we said, reproduction and procreation. Now, the thing is, a 92 lakh number as compared to 87 lakh still appeared to be a 6% drop in the population because of the fact that a very large number of Muslims came in from India into East Pakistan. Now, naturally, another interesting point is that the number of people who fled from what is today India into Pakistan and over the 1947 riots and the years immediately after that was actually a lot more. I do not wish to imply anything by saying that, but I just want to say that the number of Muslims actually leaving out of what has become India was actually a lot more than the number of people who were followers of Hindu religion I'm not going to talk about the West Pakistan side, but the number of people who were followers of the Hindu religion who moved from what was then East Pakistan into West Pakistan. So that is, and definitely there was something as big as the partition that happened at that time. And one of the main reasons why the partition happened is because people who were Muslim felt that it would be good for all Muslims to huddle up together and live together under a Muslim government. And those who were followers of the Hindu religion felt that it would be a better idea to live under a Hindu government. And therefore, many of the people at that time, it was like a policy decision. So it was not so much because of repression or policies that were wrong. Now, coming from 1960 to 1970, the population increased from 4.5 crore to 6 crore in what is Bangladesh today and what used to be East Pakistan. And the percentage of people who were followers of the Hindu religion actually came, from 1950 to 1960, if we make a comparison. So from 4.1 crore, it increased to 4.5 crore. And the percentage actually dropped from 22% to 18%. And the actual number came down from 92 lakh to 82 lakh, that is from 9.2 million to 8.2 million. Now, there was a little bit of a drop in numbers, which is a little bit significant, but I don't believe that it would be fair to attribute that drop to any kind of policy or any kind of problems being committed by people of Bangladesh, or it should not be considered as a fault of Bangladesh, because this actually was not Bangladesh at that time. This was a part of Pakistan, and the government was of Pakistan, the policies were of Pakistan, and it is true that during that time, the general attitude of the government of central Pakistan at that time may not have been as favorable, or may not have been perceived as favorable by the Hindu population living over here. Not that there was any atrocity committed against them, not that there was any, there were widespread incidents of any kind of violence, but we believe that the reason why a lot of the people left from here and went over to India is because they felt that it would be better for them, and they would probably be able to flourish more if they lived in an environment where there were more, it was predominantly a Hindu government, a Hindu environment, and that was the reason that they left, which was largely of their own accord. There is very little historical evidence to say that they were actually evicted or pushed out, or there was any kind of a drive against them. Now, if we come to the period from 1960 to 1970, the number changes from 4.5 crore to 6 crore. The population increased. So let's say between 1950 and 1970, in those 2 decades, the population of East Pakistan, which is now Bangladesh, increased by approximately 2 crore. And the reason why that happened is because as we know, there was like a certain influx of Muslims who belonged in India coming into Bangladesh. And after that, what happened was that there was not much of family planning at that time. And at that point in time, family planning was religiously not supported. And as a result of that, the Muslim families procreated and actually gave rise to more of a contribution to population growth than the Hindu followers, the followers of the Hindu religion. Therefore, that was also a major reason why there was a drop in the percentage. But there has been an actual fall in the number, and that means that people moved. In 1970, there was 77 lakh or 7.7 million followers of the Hindu religion in what was East Pakistan at that time, what is Bangladesh now. Now, let us consider the decade from 1970 to 1980, which also includes the War of Independence, which occupied the entire year of 1971. Now, definitely during that time, there was a lot of targeted violence and atrocities committed against followers of the Hindu religion, but that also hardly by people of Bangladesh. Only a very small segment of the Bangladeshi population had sided with the Pakistan army and had actually supported some of their atrocities that were targeted towards followers of the Hindu religion during the war. So, during the war, there was definitely a large number of people, both Hindus and Muslims, who went to India seeking refuge, and a significant portion of the population who were Hindu did not come back. And that was actually the reason why there was a drop in the number from 77 lakh to 72 lakh. Well, of course, the number may have reduced further. It might have gone down from 77 lakh to, let's say, 57 or 60 lakh. And then over the next 10 years, through process of reproduction, it might have increased from there from about 67 or about 60 lakh to around 72 lakh. But the point I'm trying to make is that the exodus of the Hindu population out of what was East Pakistan and what had become Bangladesh was not that phenomenally large as what is perceived or what is actually rumored. Had that number, had that number really been that big, then the population of 1970, which was 77 lakh, would probably have gone down to only 25 or 30 lakh. And if that had happened, then the number of people who were followers of the Hindu religion in 1980 could in no way have come up to 72 lakh in a matter of 8 years after the war. So, definitely, the number of people who left the country, even during the war, when the atrocities being committed was so intense, was also not a very large number, perhaps between 10 to 20 lakh. The exact number may not be possible to be ascertained, but we can definitely conjecture and figure it out through the powers of deduction and reasoning. From 1980 to 1990, the general population, the overall population of Bangladesh increased from 8 crore to 10.5 crore. And the population, the number of people who are followers of the Hindu religion, actually rose from 72 lakh to 1.1 crore. There was almost an official increase of 30 lakh people who were followers of the Hindu religion in the decade between 1980 to 1990. And even then, it may appear that, it was not so much of a gain in the percentage or a recovery in the percentage, because the total population itself was also growing faster, and perhaps the Muslim families were increasing in size faster than the Hindu families. Now, nobody ever asked the Hindu followers of the Hindu religion to not have more babies. For whatever reason, they didn't, and therefore the percentage did not recover or grow as much. But the numbers did. From 72 lakh to 1.1 crore is definitely a significant boost and a healthy increase. There is also a rumor that a large number of people who had gone away to West Bengal and to Assam, who were followers of the Hindu religion in that decade, for whatever reason, they did not maybe find that their life and experience in India was as favorable as they had expected it would be. And there was actually some people who were coming back from India into Bangladesh during that time. So then we come to the period of 1990 to 2000, the last decade of the earlier century. And over there, the population increased from 10.5 to 13 crore. And the number of followers of Hindu religion increased from 1.1 to about 1.25 crore. So there was a small increase over there as well. But the percentage shrank from 10.5 to 9.6 because of the fact that the total population increase it's like a race, two graphs. The total population increase accelerated and increased at a higher speed, a higher rate of acceleration than the increase in the Hindu population, and that was the reason why the percentage appears to have decreased from 10.5 to 9.6%. But the point to be noted is that the actual number of people of followers of the Hindu religion increased from 1.1 to 1.25 crore. Now, from 2000 to 2010 comes the most interesting decade. Now, that is the decade during which time BNP, Bangladesh Nationalist Party, was in power, and they were in fact forming a coalition government with the help of Jamaat Islami, who was definitely considered to be a major negative force on the Hindu population, and a lot of people blame Jamaat Islami for atrocities during the 1971 war. Therefore, the outward exodus of the Hindu population is indirectly attributed to Jamaat-e Islami, and Jamaat-e Islami was in the ruling seat along with BNP in that a big chunk of that time, from 2001 to 2006, and after that there was an interim government for 2 years. So largely between 2000 to 2010, the major chunk of that, almost 9 years of that, Awami League government was not in place. Even then, the total population of Hindus, the number of people following the Hindu religion, did not increase. It in fact, did not decrease. It in fact increased from 1.25 to a little over 1.3 crore. So from a little over 12 to it actually went over 13 million. There was almost 1 million people increased in that decade. Now, I'm sure that there were people who left. Of course, there were people who left, and that is the reason why the number did not grow as much. But the point I am trying to emphasize upon over here is that the number of people who left was definitely not so much, because if that number would have been that high, then definitely in 10 years, the population would not have remained steady and increased, in fact, by about 1 million. The number of, and by that time, actually, family planning had become quite active, and family planning was being practiced quite intensively. Therefore, I do not think that the number that increased, this 1 million, it could have increased by 2 or 3 million simply through reproduction and procreation, if there would have been a very large outward exodus in that decade. Which goes to show that even when BNP and Jamaat-e Islami were in the government, not that much of atrocities or not that much of repression or not that much of oppression happened, which would have caused that kind of an exodus. That kind of an exodus did not happen during 2000 to 2010. So this is a very crucial piece of information that we need to take into consideration over here. And then 2010 to 2020, the 10 years that Awami League was in power, let's look at that. The number actually increased from 1.3 crore to 1.32 crore, which means there was hardly much of an increase. Now, it does not, naturally, we cannot expect that the number of kids that were born in Hindu families was so less that there was hardly any change in the population in those 10 years. So definitely, some people did leave, and why did they leave? Now, I'm not going to try and play a blame game, or I'm not going to try and say that Awami League was the reason why people left. Rather, I will not get into that kind of a rhetoric. What I will say is that some people who did belong to positions of power in the Awami League local administration, government in the village and rural level, they were not actually very nice people. And some of them did create a lot of problem for Hindu populations in the villages. Misusing rather the fact that they were Awami League, they did actually take advantage of a lot of Hindu people living in the villages over which they had their control. And I know of some families as well who had a lot of disturbance created on them by Union Council chairman, Upazila chairman, who happened to be holders of position under the Awami League party. So, interesting point. And the other point is the fact that actually India started flourishing a lot more, and a lot of facilities and advancements and opportunities started opening up in India. And as India definitely has a much more favorable policy of allowing Hindu people, followers of the Hindu religion, to come from other countries, especially from Bangladesh, to come and settle and work and study over there. So therefore, a lot of people who were followers of the Hindu religion from Bangladesh moved to India in order to take advantage of what they felt were better economic opportunities, better education opportunities for their children, and also they felt that it was a better lifestyle. I mean, especially enticed by the lifestyle that is portrayed in the movies and in the media and in their TV serials, it does appear to be a much more nicer, fancier lifestyle. And therefore, a lot of people who are followers of the Hindu religion did move, migrate, or send their children to India. So that was not so much because of repression also, or any kind of oppression, or it was largely because India became a more attractive location to relocate to, and they're just next door. So that was actually the reason for the statistics that we see between 2000, from 2010 to 2020. So the population actually increased between 2010 to 2020 from 15 to 16.5 crore, and the percentage of the followers of Hindu religion dropped from 8.5% to 8%. So that happened in those 10 years between 2010 and 2020. And interestingly, coincidentally, however you would like to put it, those were the 10 years that Awami League was in power. But as I said, there were some problems being created by followers and the cronies of Awami League upon the Hindu population, but I don't blame the entire party policymakers entirely for that. It was largely the misdemeanors and misconduct of party officials at the grassroots level, which is unfortunate. And not everybody was like that, but a significant number was like that. But at the same time, as I said, the main reason was advancements in our neighboring country, India. Now, between 2020 to 2024, the population increased from 16.5 to 17.5 crore officially, could be about 18 crore, and the number of followers of the Hindu religion has remained quite constant at about 8%. And the actual number has grown because 8% out of 16.5 crore and 8% of 17.5 to 18 crore is actually, the latter is more. So currently, the number of people who are followers of the Hindu religion living in what is Bangladesh today is almost 1.4 crore or 14 million. So what does that show? That the number has grown in the last 4 years. And interestingly, if we look at the last few months, I mean, in spite of whatever rumors that are being spread, if we actually try and look at the exact numbers and the statistics at the border, how many people have actually crossed over from Bangladesh to India? I mean, with hardly anyone having done so, the amount of uproar that is happening in the Indian media. Can you imagine if there was a real refugee situation and in actuality, if there were hundreds of thousands of people fleeing out of Bangladesh into India, what would the situation be? So that is something to think about. See, the thing is, there were just about 2 million people or less than 2 million people who came from Burma or Myanmar into Bangladesh, the Rohingya population, and that completely upset the entire economy and so many factors inside Bangladesh. And UN got mobilized and so many international NGOs came and set up their offices, and the Rohingyas who came in were all made to live in a particular region of Chittagong, very close to Cox's Bazar, in a place called Ramu. Most of them were made to live in an area that was confined, and few of them were permitted to come outside and work. And there are just so many activities happening over there. There are people from all over the world coming and working with them, trying to rehabilitate them, opening schools over there, doing so many things to try and make their life a little bit better. The government has many programs and initiatives to try and incorporate them into our population, if possible, in productive ways. And we are also trying to incorporate them into the economy. We are opening various kinds of work opportunities for them in that region. But if you compare, and that's all of that is happening for the last 5 or 6 years, more. In fact, since about 2017, it has been going on. So if you think about it, all of that has been happening for only about 2 million people. And can you imagine if the numbers that is going around in the Indian media, that millions and millions of Bangladeshis are, I mean, Hindu religion followers in Bangladesh are fleeing out of Bangladesh, then what would have been the situation in India? If actually millions of people would have flooded out of Bangladesh into India, if I refer to India as you would not have been able to stay as calm and peaceful as you are now. There would have been camps formed, there would have been so much of activities, NGO activities, relief activities, so much would have started happening. But has that happened? No, it has not. Maybe at most a few hundred people may have crossed over in certain places where the border security is not so tight. Maybe a few hundred people left, and that also would be followers of the Hindu religion who were a strong component of the Awami League party, and they did not leave so much because of religious repression, but because of the fact that they belonged to the Awami League party, and that put them into a very difficult and awkward situation with the people of Bangladesh after the fall of the previous regime. So these are the real reasons why things are the way they are. And the way that the things are is actually not so bad. Let's not be misled by rumors. Let's not be misled by misinformation. My request to everyone is to try and analyze and to think and to study the facts. There is a proverb in Bangladesh, and I'm sure that there is something equivalent in India as well, because we come from the same culture. We share a lot of the same proverbs and a lot of the same fairy tales and folklore. So I'm sure there is something that says that কান নিয়ে গেছে চিলে. So someone came and told someone else that, there was a hawk that came down and actually took away your ear, and then the person, without actually checking whether the person still has both ears or not, person started running around looking for where that hawk is who has taken away his ear. So I think at the present moment, the situation is very similar to that, whatever is going on. And I think it is very important that we pay attention to the facts and the figures and reality rather than be misled by misinformation, a storm of misinformation that is going on. And I would like to definitely emphasize upon the fact that we need to present numbers and statistics in the right context. If you are going to say that why has the population of Hindus in Bangladesh dropped from almost around 30% to 8%, then you need to say over the last 70 or 80 years. And then you also need to say that, and still, why has the number increased from 87 lakh to almost 1.4 crore? That's almost double. So isn't it interesting that the number of followers of the Hindu religion has actually doubled over the last 70 years, though the percentage has reduced. And there could be many reasons why the percentage has reduced. So we need to think about these things before we directly form any kind of an opinion and we try to blame an entire country. Let's all remember the fact that Bangladesh is an extremely harmonious country where we genuinely believe in maintaining a wonderful relationship between people of all religions, and that is how it has always been, and hopefully that is how it will always be, provided problems are not created and injected into our community from external communities, unnecessarily needling and meddling in our internal issues. So requesting everyone to remain sensible, to be sensible, and to help to have a harmonious relationship not only within the country but with our neighboring countries as well. And I look forward to rehabilitation of the wonderful kind of friendship that we used to have with our neighboring country India, and we hope that whatever the fallacies and all the misinformation, the hailstorm of misinformation that's going on will end soon, and then we can focus on taking matters forward, taking economic development and cooperation and collaboration forward again. Requesting once again everyone in the media of India to kindly do a little bit more concrete investigation before propagating any false information. And also, if you have genuinely an intention to propagate some rumors, please don't. In the long run, it really isn't going to be helpful for anyone. We, as a country, Bangladesh, will definitely suffer, but India also will not be gainer from creating this kind of an unnecessary conflict with Bangladesh. So let's all live peacefully, grow peacefully, and foster peace not only within the subcontinent but across the world. Let us become a very strong, united force in this entire subcontinent. Let SARC become a reality. Let's work together like the European Union or ASEAN, and let us all dazzle the world as a subcontinent, as a united subcontinent of separate, sovereign, independent nations working together with cooperation and with harmony. Thanking everyone for watching my program and inviting everyone to watch more episodes of my program. I sign off now.